This is your wrestling show, Ottawa.
Heck, they could use you guys over in WWE.
You're listening to the greatest wrestling show in the whole wide world.
This is Wrestling with Ideas. Welcome inside the CKDJ studios for Wrestling with Ideas here on CKDJ 107.9, Ottawa's new music. I'm Zach McGibbon, and on the line with me, he's a former member of the NXT roster and also a former member of Sanity. We have with us Sawyer Fulton on the line. Sawyer, how are you doing today?
Oh, excellent. How are you, man?
Good to have you on. I'm feeling great. And lots to talk about in terms of career and goings on in the WWE. But first, before I ask any of that, I just want to know, how did you first break into the wrestling business?
Okay, so for me, I've always dreamed of being a professional wrestler. I honestly don't remember how young I was when I started watching wrestling. I always remember wanting to be a professional wrestler. So when I was in 6th grade, I went to my elementary school's wrestling practice because I automatically assumed it was the same thing. You show up, there's a ring, that's how you learn. That's where it starts. And it just turns out that is not at all true. But yeah, I figured that it was, and I stuck with it, and I ended up falling in love with collegiate wrestling. And I had a couple of state placements in high school, and then I got my way into college with it, and All-American twice in college. And it was around that time, my senior year at Nationals, when I met Jerry Briscoe. And he saw me wrestling at Nationals, and that was that. That was my big, step into WWE. But I did some training back in Ohio as well. Amateur wrestling was really my gateway into it. But in my mind, I was going to make it there eventually. Whether it's through amateur wrestling or not.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What did Gerald Briscoe, because he's been known to find a lot of these amateur wrestlers and bring them into WWE. What did he tell you when he was scouting you and saying, look, the WWE is interested in bringing you in as part of the company?
So, actually, Jerry wasn't even supposed to be at that tournament. His flight got canceled for one reason or another, and he was only 2 hours away. This was at Colorado State University at Pueblo for the Division II All-American Championships. And so he wasn't supposed to be there and just showed up for the second day of the tournament. And the way Nationals works is on the second day, if you're still in the tournament, you automatically are top 8, which means you have an All-American title. That year, my last year, my senior year, I was dedicated to winning it all. I wanted a national championship. And in my quarterfinal match, I got a little bit too cocky, and I made a mistake, and I ended up losing to a guy I should never have lost to. So I won my next match after that pretty easily, and I made it to the second day. And at that point, I did not care about the tournament at all. I was actually just really angry, and I already had an All-American, status under my belt, and so it didn't really matter to me at that point. Mm-hmm. And the whole second day, I spent every match trying to just do big throws or slam guys or make guys tap out and just releasing my anger, like a good sportsman would. And Jerry was watching me all day. I had zero idea he was there. And then I came up in my last match for 3rd and 4th against the kid I shouldn't have lost to. And I'm getting ready for my match, and my mother sends me a text message saying, "Hey, do you know this guy I'm sitting next to? His name is Jerry Briscoe." And then all of my confidence, anger, rage, everything went out the window, and I just froze. And I looked over, and he's sitting next to my mom. and he just happened to sit next to my mother because that was the mat he was going to watch me at. And now, so now that's all running through my head and beating this guy, and I'm not thinking straight. And I ended up winning the match against this guy, and I turned to Jerry, directly to him, and I just started doing the Hulk Hogan pose down right there in the center of the mat, just really showing off. I got our team docked a team point for excessive celebration.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I step off the mat. I hug my coach first of all. That's my last collegiate wrestling match. I hug my mom, and at this point my adrenaline's wearing off, and my breath is starting to run out. And Jerry walks over to me. Yeah, your mom tells me you know who I am. I'm like, yeah, yes, sir. He's like, do you know what I want? I'm like, God, I hope so. So you want to get your breath back before you talk to me? I'm like, please, that'd be good, sir. And he's like, all right, I'll be over here when you're ready. And that was that. He told me he was going to give me a tryout. At that point, I'd been doing a little bit of training at the AFWA Training Center in Mansfield, Ohio. And he just said, he's like, all right, my job isn't to recruit guys who have been training. I'm here to recruit amateur wrestlers. So when you go, tell them you're an amateur wrestler. Tell them you have no training, and then just surprise them all with how much you know. I'm like, awesome, perfect. Like, that's great. And that was that. That was in March of 2012, and I had my tryout June of that year.
Wow. And when were you officially signed with the WWE?
I had my first official date on September 17th, 2012.
Interesting. Okay. And when you were signed with WWE, did they say what kind of plans they had for you on the roster? Were they like, we're happy to have you here, keep on working hard, and that way you can get yourself on NXT, that sort of deal?
Yeah, there was no initial plans. I'm pretty sure unless you're a pre-established athlete or independent wrestler, you don't really come in with plans. There's a lot of people that, break in from sports and don't know the first thing about wrestling. And so, it's a learning process and learning the history and the lore and who you are as a character. And I think that was kind of the thing, is like, come here and learn and let's see what develops.
Mm-hmm. And how would you describe your reaction first coming into the Performance Center and seeing just this state-of-the-art facility that you were going to get to train in?
Actually, I started in Tampa, in the old facility that was once FCW.
Okay.
Actually, the only two people in NXT right now, Cassius Ohno and Angelo Dawkins, are the only two in NXT that actually worked in that building.
Oh, wow.
But I had a pretty big class from my tryout. As far as people still there, like Sasha Banks was in my tryout, Scott Dawson, Coach Sarah Amato was in that tryout, and a lot of guys who are, no longer with the company. Elias was in that tryout. And so, I actually had a pretty big class. But to me, like, when I started wrestling, the gym where I started training at in Mansfield was an 18 by 18 ring in a 20 by 20 room. And it had no heating, no AC, and I was more than happy to be there. And to go into a place that had, a show ring and then two rings in the back, like, I thought that was heaven, honestly. And I remember they took us into the PC before it was even set up, when it was just an open warehouse, to move in just the pieces of the ring. And looking at all of it, I honestly, blows my mind what they've been able to do with that building. And it just absolutely insane, just the thought and everything that they put into making the Performance Center.
Absolutely. And what did they specifically want to work with you on while you were in NXT? Was there like a specific focus that they really wanted to build with you, or was it more like a general, we'll work on the fundamentals, that sort of deal, and just kind of have them grow from there?
Yeah, so a lot of the stuff, especially in NXT when you're newer, is being able to find yourself and figure out like what you want to do. And for me, like, I was training, I was just focusing on wrestling and figuring out how to put together a match and control a crowd and everything that comes with, obviously, professional wrestling. And I was, working on different characters, seeing what I liked, what I didn't like. And I was doing a promo one day, and Terry Taylor just happened to be walking by, and he's like, you know what you give me the vibe of, like with a promo like that is a prisoner, something like Nails. He's like, just play around with it, give it a try and see how you like it. And I started like looking at like prisoners and stuff, and I came across the Silence of the Lambs, and I started doing like this kind of weird Hannibal Lecter character, and it just started kind of gaining ground and trying different stuff, and and I came out to like classical music during shows, and I had a tuxedo singlet and my short blonde hair, and just like little bits of ideas and little bits of ideas and little bits of ideas, piling on top of one another. And I did that for about a year and a half maybe. Mm-hmm. And finally they, the first time that they've come to me, really at all with a serious idea, and they said, look, like, this character's cool, but we don't really have a place for it right now. Work on something else. Mm-hmm. And that hit me hard. Like, here I am, like, investing my money and my time into this, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we like it, but we don't want to use it. Mm-hmm. And so I started, trying to think, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? And I went and I talked to Dusty, and Dusty just basically told me, he said, do the exact opposite. He said, whatever you imagine the exact opposite it is, give me 100% turnaround. And I was kind of frustrated, everything was like losing this character I worked so hard on. So I did a parody of Dusty, and I did kind of like a cheesy 80s wrestler, and it started making Dusty laugh. And so he came to me after a promo class when I was doing it, and he's like, I bet you $100 you won't do that on a live event. I'm like, for real? He's like, I got the money in my pocket. All right. So that weekend I went out and I did the cheesy 80s character, and I come back the next week, and he's like, and I'm going to abstain from using the cuss word here, but holy baby, I can't believe you actually did that. You know how crazy and I just said 11, and he hands me $100 bill as promised. And he's like, how did the crowd react to it? I'm like, I think they're so used to seeing me as a creepy character, they weren't sure. But by the end of the match, I was definitely getting responses. He's like, good, that's how you need to work. That's what you should be looking for. I'm so happy you did this. Never do it again, but I'm so happy you did this. And that was kind of the first time that Dusty's message really started resonating with me. And, I kind of figured out how he works and how he wants to work with people. Mm-hmm. And honestly, going out, and I did it for 2 matches, but those 2 matches, I learned so much just from being an idiot and doing something I will never do again in my life. Mm-hmm. And I learned so much from the 2 matches.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I don't want to be too somber on it, but what was the reaction around the NXT locker room with the passing of Dusty Rhodes?
It's one of those things that Dusty had a connection with pretty much everyone, especially in NXT. He can frustrate you. He really can, because he pushes you and he drives you to that next level. And sometimes if you're not ready for how he teaches or how he coaches, like, that weighs on you, and you think, like, man, like, why does Dusty Rhodes hate me? Like, why does he come after me? And, like, he just rips him apart, like, week after week after week. And then finally something happens, and you just go, holy cow, like, this is exactly what he was talking about. And I think, and I know, like, a lot of people are frustrated with him, but in time, like, you learn, like, oh my God, Dusty really went out of his way to make me a better performer, and he really went out of his way to make me a better professional wrestler. And I'm really happy I realized that, and I got to spend some non-frustrated time with him. But I think that each and every person who's ever walked through the doors and talked to that man is in debt to him beyond words.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And moving forward now, you go through a couple of characters. When did they pitch you the idea of Sanity and being a part of the tag team with Alexander Wolf?
So the original idea for Sanity actually came to us. It was myself, Sami Callihan, who was wrestling with Solomon Crow at the time, and Marcus Louis, who, he'd been doing the crazy gimmick for a while, and all of a sudden just disappeared off TV. They stopped using him. And they came to the three of us, like, hey, we want you to start this faction. It was Joe Belcastro when he sat down with us, and he's like, we want you to start this faction. We want to base it off of the movie Smokin' Aces, and you just kind of crazy and rampant, and you don't really have a plan, but you have a plan. And they're like, go think of a few ideas and come back. And we thought of a few ideas, and we were just pitching stuff that we liked and what we thought, and we were throwing ideas back and forth with Joe for him to take to Hunter. And at the time, they told us, like, talk about promos, but don't focus in promo class. So do everything as teams yet. We may have you start doing some live events. We did a few 6-man tags, but at the time, we didn't really know, or I think we knew where it was going. And I'm good friends with Sami Callihan, and we just all of a sudden started butting heads about ideas. And Marcus and I didn't want this to become a machine where we're nameless cronies, and it all comes for Sami. I don't think Sami wanted that either, but like just everybody just started butting heads, and it was about that time that Sami, left NXT, and he apologized to me. Like, he told me the day before he did it. He's like, I'm sorry. I know they had this idea, but we're not going anywhere quick, and I want to go prove them wrong. I want to go prove them that they're misusing me, and that was that. And like, even to this day, Sami and I are still good friends, and everything like that. So then it became just me and Marcus. And then in January of that year, they released Marcus, and I was kind of back on my own. And I didn't really have a direction. I kind of stayed with that kind of manic idea and just trying to figure it out and like put pieces together for myself. Because if they're not going to use the faction, I might as well take the character for myself. And we come to a live event in Bartow, Florida, and they need a team to face the Hype Bros. And I think it was supposed to be Authors of Pain before they were Authors of Pain. And one of the two was sick, so they just threw me and Alexander Wolf together. And we get done with the match, and we come back, and Norman Smiley just goes, "You should make a pretty good team. Do you know that?" And I started, I made a joke. I'm like, "Norman, tag teams don't work out well for me. The last two partners got fired. You really want to put Wolf through that?" And, I started making jokes. And then we started getting more matches with the Hype Bros. And then they started talking to us more seriously, like, come up with some tag team moves, throw stuff together. And, Wolf and I started becoming better friends and, like, throwing things together. and they said, pick up the idea that we were telling you about, the Smoking Aces. And that's kind of like when we had that like Mad Max vibe going, because that's where, in our minds, that's the direction we were heading. And we're doing tag team stuff, and we're becoming more fluent and working together better. I'm starting to learn a little bit of German, and he's starting to become so comfortable. He's starting to talk to me in German, which I don't understand. Like, he'd be telling me to do moves. I mean, we were in a match, and he's like, I was holding the guy by the foot. He's like, flip him over, but he's yelling at me in German. And we get to the back, and he's like, why didn't you flip him over when I was yelling at you? I'm like, dude, you're yelling at me in German. And we watched it back, and we saw it. He's just like, the look on his face, like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, I forget that you can't speak German with me. Eventually they tie us in with Eric, and they're like, all right, we're going to add you with Eric Young. And that's kind of when we got a better idea of what Sanity was going to be. And Eric started, grabbing the helm and steering us into a direction. And when we got frustrated and we couldn't figure out we were doing what we wanted to do, but it didn't really work out, with what the coaches were thinking, because you're getting pulled in a million directions at once. Eric would just, we'd do 6-man with Eric, and he's like, no, do it. I'll cover for you. I'll tell them that's what I told you to do. And then we do the exact same thing with Eric, and they're like, oh, that's great, that's a great idea. And I think having him, kind of lead us, and us being able to put ideas through Eric, and Eric going out on a limb and really working for us, really drove that whole thing in a great direction.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it really started to go well as well, being a part of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. Did you really, like you were mentioning, you started to see it all start to click and all start to come together? Did you really notice it more with when you progressed really well during the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic?
So for us, the first match, our debut match, went absolutely perfectly, and you couldn't have asked for a better guy than Wolf and Eric to be putting stuff together like that. And actually, Nikki Cross was headed to that about 4 hours before that. So, the stuff that she's wearing was, hey, what do we have to give to Nikki? Because we don't have anything. And the first match went great in the Dusty Road. And we got the second match with Coda and TJ. And where I personally like that match, because that's the style we had been working, we got told, change it up. This is not the direction we thought you were going. Change it up, change it up, change it up. And so Wolf and I set out, and probably some of the hardest we've ever worked. Every day, hours spent just coming up with new moves and manic motions and everything. So by the time we faced TM61 in California, that was ironed out. We had it down to where we wanted to, and now it was just playing with character. We had our moves, we had what we were doing. Now it's just figuring it out. Mm-hmm. And we were definitely hitting our stride, especially on live events. We were just I felt like we were unstoppable, and we were learning. Obviously we weren't, perfect as a tag team. We still had miles to go, but we were definitely just hitting the right direction and going well, and just adapting to situations. I had a boot break off in New York, and we just played around the fact that I was barefoot and 1 foot, and we could just do that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And we were honestly hitting our stride, and I was having so much fun during that time.
Mm-hmm. And also, moving on forward, the injury that unfortunately made you leave Sanity. When did you find out about what the injury was, and did you think that they were going to keep you in Sanity after the injury, or did you have a feeling that they were going to try and move forward with a different person in Killian Dane?
So when the injury happened, actually it's on the network, the exact time that it is when we were attacking the match of Rich Swann as Kona Reeves. It was taped as a pre-show. It was taped before NXT TakeOver Toronto, and aired the next week afterwards. And we come out and we stop that match, and we jump them, and Wolf and I are hitting our finish on Kona Reeves. And as we come down and we land, I feel a sharp pain in my shoulder. And like, not like it hurt, but I knew something was wrong. It honestly felt like someone just stuck a knife into my exact shoulder. And instantly, my mind went to, oh my gosh, his arm came down wrong. We just snapped his forearm and his bone stabbed me. And I looked down, and he's fine. And I just go, maybe I just, gave myself a stinger. Like, that's not that bad. And all of a sudden, Rich Swann hits Wolf with a crossbody behind me, and I turn around to punch him. And as I go to lift up my arm doesn't react. And I just sort of end up just like Ace Ventura, swinging my arm at Rich and hitting him right in the face. And I'm like, that's weird. And we're punching Rich, and I go to punch him again, and my arm goes up, but it doesn't come down. And it was at that moment I thought that I tore my shoulder out of place. Mm-hmm. And so I go into kicking and kneeing, and I try to strike with my left hand, but I'm just not that good with it. And we get Rich Swann out, and we're kind of pacing around the ring and eating up time, and I go to Wolf, and I grab him by the head, and I just go, I tore my shoulder out of place. I tore my shoulder. Stay on my right side. Cover me up. And Wolf, I just go super wide. He goes, really? I'm like, yeah. Like, just cover me up. And we go back, and Eric starts cutting a promo, and we're all going crazy behind him. And at one point during his promo, you see me grab the rope and start whipping my dreads around. But what I was doing was using the rope and trying to put my shoulder back into place, because I still thought it was my shoulder out of place. Mm-hmm. And so we finish everything up, the stuff with Jose, and by that time, like, you'll notice that I tucked my hand into my belt, because I'm having trouble just letting my arm dangle at that point. And we get to the back, and we're talking to Triple H, and I just start shaking. And he looks at me, and he's like, are you all right? I'm like, actually, I think I tore my shoulder out. He says, well, what are you doing talking to me? Like, go see the trainer. And, I go back and I start talking to the trainer, and we think maybe it's my bicep, or my pec, or my shoulder. Like, it's kind of hard to tell, but at that point, like, my whole bicep is just starting to turn a dark purple. And, we just sit in the back, and we get done with that night and into the next day, and I still can't move my arm, and we don't really know what's going to happen. Like, it's really like, everybody's sort of just weirded out by it. Mm-hmm. And then we did another taping before SmackDown in Ottawa, and at that point, like, my arm was starting to feel better. I'm like, oh, maybe, it's just a bad bruise, or, I tore, I pulled it out of place in his back. Like, I'm getting better. Like, this is fine. And then, so we do all that, and we fly back to the U.S. I have my MRI the day before Thanksgiving. And then we have Thanksgiving dinner, and, I go through all my week, and that Sunday, after Thanksgiving, my arm's feeling great. I'm like, man, this isn't bad at all. Like, I'm going to be, back to normal before TV tapings coming up. Like, this is cool. Like, I was worried about it. No big deal. Mm-hmm. I get a call that Sunday from Dr. Westerfield, and he's like, look, results of your MRI came back. You definitely tore your pec from your arm. It is completely torn out. The tendon didn't tear, but it's separated from the bone. And basically, like with an injury like that, you have 2 weeks to repair it, or you're going to lose a significant amount of function in your arm.
Wow.
And I said, can I make it through tapings? And he's like, honestly, no. Like, you need to get this repaired ASAP. I'm like, what's ASAP? He's like, your flight leaves at 6 a.m.
Jeez.
And it was that moment, like, honestly, all the pain came rushing back. And it was like that moment of, you know, you get that feeling in your mind that everything's fine, and you kind of push it out with your mind. And as soon as that barrier breaks, everything was out the window, and I started hurting. Like, it started hurting so bad, and all of a sudden I couldn't lift it anymore. And I fly out, and I go to Alabama. I talk to Dr. Dugas, who is absolutely amazing, just astounding. And I go, actually, it would have been a year ago yesterday, because it was on my mother's birthday. And I had the surgery, and I get done, you know, I'm still in the hospital. They release me sometime Wednesday afternoon, which was when we had the TV tapings. And I started getting text messages from different guys, like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, what's the story here? Like, what are you talking about? Like, and there's one of my friends actually started the same gym in Mansfield with me, Dallas Harper. And he's like, I don't want to give you any wrong information. You should be talking to somebody, though. And I'm trying to get a hold of people now. And I'm drugged up from the surgery, and I'm like, and just trying to figure yourself out. And I can't get a hold of anybody. And the first person to call me was Killian Dane. The first person to call me was Killian Dane. And he's like, look, we did a storyline tonight involving me and your jacket. I don't know what the process is with you. I don't know anything about the storyline, where it's going. But basically, it seems like I'm going to be filling your role for a little bit. Like, I wanted you to hear it from me instead of anyone else. Like, I want you to know that this isn't anything against you personally. This is an opportunity. And he's like, I hope to God that if the roles were reversed, that you would do the same. And, you know, I thanked him for calling me, and I thanked him for his honesty. And you can't fault the guy for that. It wasn't his. It's not like he came up and was like, hey, you know, this is a perfect place for me. Let me replace Sawyer. He generally knew he was replacing me, and even though we didn't know where it was going at the time, he called and let me know before anyone else.
Definitely.
And I talked to Wolf shortly after that, who gave me a rundown of everything that happened. And then Eric called me and was like, hey, like, we did some stuff tonight, just gonna let you know, like, we're pulling for you, we're not gonna leave you in the dark, like, don't worry about it, like, please just rest up and get better as soon as you can, and just focus on getting better. So let me worry about everything else. And maybe about 11 o'clock that night, now everything's really starting to set in, and I'm really starting to get, you know, caught up and emotional, because, like, it's kind of dawning on me, you know, you've worked 4 years to get this spot, and it's gone. And Terry Taylor called me. And Terry's once again another one of those coaches that has always been very real and very straight up with me. And he gave me a rundown of everything that happened. He's like, look, we don't know what's going on in the future. The main thing is we need to get you better ASAP. Like, that's all I want you focusing on. I said, okay. And I was expecting a call from Matt Bloom, and that never came. So I come back. By the time I come back, there's a few days where I'm just doing general motion exercises in the PC for maybe an hour a day. And that's just dangling my arm and then putting ice on it. And taking my arm out of the sling and putting ice on it. And I went home. You know, we broke for winter break after that, which is like, 10 days for people in NXT. And I went home for 3 days. I'm like, I don't want to be home. I want to be getting better. And I spent most of my time in Florida at a rehab center outside of NXT. And I started doing everything I could. As far as they would let me push it, I was pushing it. And I was going further than I was allowed and letting the doctors pull me back. And about the time that we come back, finally Bloom pulls me into his office. And he's like, look, I know you're pissed at me. I know you're mad at me. He's like, I wanted you to have time to collect your thoughts and your feelings, and everything down that's in your heart, and then come talk to me. And I said, look, he was so mad at you for 2 weeks for not calling me, and I had so much anger. But at this point, being angry isn't going to help me. It's not going to get me any better. It's not going to progress my career. Being angry is just going to hold me back. And he's like, I'm really happy you feel that way. He's like, we're going to work, and we're going to get you better, and, we're going to get you back. And even then, we started talking about storyline ideas about me coming back and challenging Killian for my spot. And then at that point, he's like, the second you're out of your sling, my tattoo was, at this time, my sleeve was only shaded in, and I wanted to get color. He's like, go get your tattoo colored in, and then, just focus on getting better and making yourself, as good as possible, and we will, we'll figure things out. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And from that moment on, I set out to do everything in my power as far as they would let me go. I could barely bench press a 2-pound weight at the time. And I was doing, reclining exercise bike, so I wasn't bouncing a lot with my upper body. And I was doing leg press and anything I could do with my legs that didn't involve my upper body. And rehabbing twice a day, every day. And at that point, I lost 20 pounds. I went from about 315 to 285-ish. 285, 290, I bounced between there. And April rolled around, and April 19th, I got my official clear. We had TV tapings, and then I got my official clear the day after. And they're like, we're going to integrate you back into practice slowly, but just know that you can start getting back into ring, doing a little bit more. And on that day, I was brought to Bloom, and he pulled me aside, and he said, that day there was releases. They released a few guys from NXT. And he's like, look, there's releases today. I was trying to consider how I wanted to talk to you about this, but I know you're a man, and I respect you as a man, so I'm going to just be blunt with you. You were on the top of the list. You've been here for a while, and this injury kind of set you back, and Killian's in a really good place. We were going to let you go. He's like, but you cut 2 months off your injury time, you've lost 20 pounds. He's like, it's absolutely undeniable that you have been working harder than anyone in this building at this point. He's like, we're going to give you 6 months to get back on TV. And he's like, I don't want a lot of coaches pulling you different directions. He's like, I want you to pick one coach to work with, and I want you to, that's the only guy you go to. That's the only person you get ideas from. If a coach has any ideas for you or anything to tell you, they tell that coach. And for the last couple of months, I'd been hanging around Steve Carino. And I'm sorry. I'd been hanging around Steve Carino, and just really enjoying how he runs his class and his views on wrestling, and I'm enjoying talking to him. And even though I can't be, in the ring, I'm still asking him questions and coming up with ideas and, pitching stuff. And I'm like, I want Steve. I'm like, he didn't have to be as nice to me as he's been the last 2 months, and he's been helping me out so much already. I want to work with Steve. And we brought over Steve, and he explained to him that whole thing. And Steve just goes, all right, let's do it. And then for the next 6 months, once again, I'm going to extra promo classes. I'm doing everything in my power. I'm working out more and more. I lost another 30 pounds. And I'm updating my gear. I'm pitching ideas. Everything to do, I'm doing. And I'm trying to be as annoying as possible at this point. And it got to the point where I'm pitching ideas and nothing's coming back. And I'm talking to Joe, and Joe's telling me at this point, we're just waiting for the in-ring clear from Bloom, and we're good to go. And Bloom is telling me we're waiting for, a storyline idea from Joe, and we're good to go. And I'm trying to get everybody on the same page, and I'm talking to Steve. About the time, end of August, early September, I'm getting really frustrated now, and nothing's coming back. And I'm running out of ideas to pitch, and to me, I'm starting to stress out because the writing's on the wall at this point. Mm-hmm. But I'm not the kind of person that's ever going to quit at anything I do, especially not WWE. And I'm just thinking of stuff, and finally, after one of the TV tapings, I kind of made a decision in my mind that if they weren't going to use me at War Games, then I was going to talk to Joe, and then if Joe didn't have plans for me by WrestleMania, I was going to ask for my release at the end of the year and go make my own name. Mm-hmm. Because at some point, you can't rely on that sturdy check. And I didn't want to rely on that sturdy check. And I would rather be grinding it out and figuring out what I need to do on my own than stressing each and every single day about my job and everything. And so October 16th-ish rolls around, whatever. Steve comes to me and he says, has Bloom talked to you yet? I said, no. He's like, all right, your whole 6 month deal, dude, you've been busting, you've been killing it, you've been doing everything you can, you've been working out hard, your body looks spectacular right now. We just don't have any room on TV, so you're good. Don't worry about it, you're good. And Bloom said the same thing. He came up to me later that day. He's like, you can't deny how hard you've been working. At that point, I had just gotten my bench press up past 300 pounds. And, he's like, we can't deny how hard you've been working. We just don't have anything. He's like, but we got to find something by the end of the year. We have to. I said, all right, let's sit down with Joe and let's get a meeting going and something. And a little bit later, we, maybe about 2 weeks, whatever, in November, I am getting ready for a morning practice. And the secretary asked me, she's like, can I borrow you for a minute? And I'm used to helping her, move a box, something that's coming through the mail that she just can't lift. Mm-hmm. And we walked into, you have to walk through the office to get to the secretary room if you're coming through the ring area. Mm-hmm. And I look and I see Bloom standing in the middle of his office. And I just think to myself, that's weird. I've never seen him stand in the middle of his office before. And I turn to go into the front reception area, and she turns and goes to the conference room. And I turn and I look and I see Canyon. And it all became just dreadfully clear. And I decided, the moment I saw Canyon, I decided that I'm going to try to laugh as much as possible, because, you know, I don't want to get emotional there, not in front of them. You know, I never want to, now it's happening again. I never want anybody to see me break.
Yeah.
You know, it's years and years of amateur wrestling of don't let people see that side of you. And I turned and I saw Canyon, and I just go, oh, so it's come to this, has it? And Canyon definitely did not laugh at that. And neither did Bloom, who was apparently right behind me at that point. And we sit down, and we're all just sort of staring at each other. And Canyon just looks at me and he goes, so we've decided we're going to let you go. And I just look at him like, yeah, no, I figured that part out. Thanks. Once again, no laughs. Both guys' heads are down. And they're being real serious. And Canyon's like, look, honestly, like, this would have come much earlier. And honestly, it almost didn't come today, because you are annoyingly hardworking. Like, you've been blowing us away. But at the end of the day, you've been here for 5 years, and we don't have anything at the time, and we think it's best, and that you'll learn the most going out and just doing it. And at that point, I looked at Canyon and I said, look, I'm 27 years old, Canyon. The average age of people you sign is about 30, 31. That's 3 years. If you don't think I'm coming back, you are absolutely out of your mind wrong. And he leans back in his chair. The first time I got any reaction other than sadness out of him. And he goes, did you just tell me you're coming back? And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I told you. And just this look of relief came upon him, and he's like, that's exactly what we want to hear. You have no idea how much easier you just made this on me. It's like, just trust me, like, this is hard. Like, you know, you're one of my first signees, you know, after I started. He's like, thank you. Thank you for being this way and taking it this way. And, you know, we know we're kind of getting you around the holidays, and we know that you weren't really expecting this. But, you know, thank you for doing this. Thank you for this mindset. About this time, Bloom looked at me and he just goes, he's like, look, there's not many times this job comes hard to me. Like, I absolutely love what I do. And this job, especially this part of the job, is never easy. But there's 3 times in my career here where it's been absolutely devastating. This is the 3rd time. And he's like, I want you to know we're going to do everything we can to help you out. We're going to, you know, we're going to try to talk to New Japan for you. We're going to try to do what we can to help you out. And honestly, I want you to just go out and learn, figure it out. And he's like, and come back, man. And Canyon goes, and he starts talking to me, and he's like, look, if anything comes up with New Japan, or, you know, somewhere where you have to leave the country and you really want to compete, he's like, just ask, and we will wait. We'll compete, no questions asked. Because I know you want to get better, and I know you want to go do stuff. He's like, if it comes up, he's like, it probably won't come up this early. Like, this 30 days goes pretty quick, but, you know, we're here to help you. And, you know, he's like, and we just started, it kind of faded out from there, the conversation did, and, you know, and then all the emotions started catching up to me again, and I'm like, man, like, really don't want him to see me, you know, like this, and he's like, "Do you have anything else you want to say to us or anything?" And I just look at him. I'm like, "Well, I didn't have a ride to Jacksonville tonight. Guess that solves that problem." And it was the first time I got him to laugh. And we left on a really good note. And, you know, I definitely walked out of the performance center with my head held high. Mm-hmm. And I could not be more happy with my time there. And I know that, you know, obviously I didn't make it quite as far as I wanted to. Mm-hmm. There's still a lot of goals I left unreached, but, you know, it's not the end of my career by any means. And I definitely did quite a bit with what I was given. And I am, I don't know, and I'm happy. And I'm happy to be on this next part of my life and this next path and go out and learn and experience and figure out, you know, what I need to do to better myself.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, man. That was quite a journey there. And now talking through your future plans now, listening back, them helping you try to get to New Japan, that sort of stuff. What do you foresee yourself doing on the independent scene, especially with the independent scene growing right now, and you can really do a success. You can be successful on the independent scene.
You know, honestly, I just want to wrestle. Mm-hmm. That's what it boils down to. You know, I want to travel and I want to learn, you know, what each and every crowd reacts to and what different crowds do. And I want to be able to find these guys that have made a living outside of WWE, figure out what they do and make myself better. For me, I'm a super competitive person. Just years and years of amateur wrestling. And I want to be the best. Quite honestly, I want to be the best. And I know I'm not. And it annoys me to no end that I'm not. And my goal now is to change that. You know, I want to get better. And I know there's humongous obstacles. And I know that there are definitely people, especially, you know, both in WWE, ROH, New Japan, independent circuits that are miles better than me. And I'm going to make it my goal to close the gap on them and surpass them. You know, and I think and I know there's a lot of people that I've made friends with that want to help me out, you know, especially guys like Wolf and Killian who are, you know, from other countries and can help me out traveling in that direction. I've become good friends with Alberto El Patron, and especially his little brother, Hijo de dos Caras. And, you know, I know that they're willing to help me if I want to try to go to Mexico eventually. And I have friends in California and friends in Ohio and friends in Canada. And I've built this network just from meeting people. And I know there's so many people willing to help me out. And I know that already, you know, exponentially, guys, you know, my trainer, the Living Nightmare Jimmy Lee from Mansfield, Sammy Callahan, Jessica Havoc, Martin Stone, Jason Cade, just people who, Josh Woods in ROH, Cal Jack out in California, a few of the referees in NXT and in WWE, just willing to help me and put my name out there and get me to places that they were and you know, broaden my, I guess, spectrum. And it amazes me like how far these people, my friends, are willing to go to help me out here and drive my career forward. Mm-hmm. And I think in the end, it's all, you know, we're all in this together. You know, and I know that they want to make me better the same way I want to help them out any way I can. And it's just really cool to have them driving me and helping me, and that's just it. It's just going and doing it and wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. With that, I think we'll start to end things off there.
You ask me questions and you get me emotional. Now you're promo. You see what you're doing to me, man?
I know. I didn't. That was very good, man. Like I was invested all the way and listening through, and it's like, wow, that was probably one of the more insightful answers we've ever gotten here on the show. So that was some awesome stuff there, man.
I'll tell you what, man. I am my absolute favorite topic to talk about, and I can definitely talk about myself for a good long while. So
yeah, thanks again, man. That was a great interview, and thank you for being insightful on your time in WWE. I know we got a little emotional there heading up to the release, but I can tell you've definitely got a passion for the business, and I wish you nothing but the best, man.
Cool, thank you, brother.